7 Japanese Organization Secrets for a Perfectly Ordered Home. What if I told you there's a way to keep your home perfectly organized without spending hours cleaning every single day? What if the secret wasn't another storage hack or expensive organizing system, but an ancient Japanese philosophy that could transform not just your space, but your entire relationship with your belongings? I'm Sarah, and 3 years ago, my home was a constant source of stress. No matter how much I cleaned, the clutter returned like a relentless tide. I tried every organizing trend, bought countless storage solutions, and spent entire weekends decluttering, only to find myself back at square one within weeks. Sound familiar? Then I discovered the Japanese approach to home organization, and everything changed. This isn't just about tidying up, it's a complete mindset shift that turned my chaotic house into a peaceful sanctuary that practically maintains itself. If you're tired of fighting the same organizing battles over and over again, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because today I'm sharing the 7 life-changing strategies that revolutionized my home and my peace of mind. And if this helps you even a little bit, please give this video a thumbs up. It truly helps me reach more people who need these solutions. The Japanese philosophy: more than just organization. The Japanese method of home organization isn't merely a set of cleaning techniques. It's a profound philosophy rooted in harmony, intentionality, and respect for our living spaces. In Japanese culture, maintaining an orderly home is considered essential for mental clarity and overall well-being. It's about creating a sanctuary that nurtures both body and soul. Unlike Western approaches that often focus on hiding clutter or maximizing storage, the Japanese philosophy emphasizes understanding our relationship with material possessions. It asks us to consider why we own what we own and whether each item truly serves our highest good. When I first encountered these principles, I realized my previous organizing attempts had failed because I was treating symptoms rather than the root cause. I was trying to manage chaos instead of preventing it. The Japanese approach taught me that true organization begins with intentional living, making conscious choices about what we allow into our homes and lives. This transformation didn't happen overnight, but the results have been nothing short of remarkable. My home now feels like a breath of fresh air every time I walk through the door. More importantly, I've gained hours of time each week that I previously spent battling clutter and searching for misplaced items. Let me share with you the 7 core strategies that made this transformation possible. Each one builds upon the others, creating a comprehensive system that maintains itself with minimal daily effort. Strategy 1. Eliminate what doesn't add value. The foundation of Japanese organization lies in the principle of intentional ownership. Before we can organize effectively, we must first ensure that everything in our home has earned its place there. This isn't about living with nothing, it's about living with purpose. For years, I held on to items just in case. My closets overflowed with clothes I hadn't worn in seasons. My kitchen drawers were stuffed with gadgets I used once or twice, and my shelves collected decorative items that no longer brought me joy. These objects weren't just taking up physical space, they were creating mental clutter and a constant sense of overwhelm. The Japanese approach introduces a powerful practice. Hold each item and ask yourself 2 simple questions. Does this bring me joy? And is this truly useful in my current life? If the answer to both questions is no, it's time to let that item go with gratitude for whatever service it may have provided. The key is to approach this process with compassion rather than criticism. You're not judging past decisions, you're making conscious choices for your future. I started by tackling one category at a time rather than room by room. First, I gathered every piece of clothing I owned from throughout the house. Seeing it all in one place was both shocking and enlightening. I discovered I had been holding on to clothes that no longer fit my body or my lifestyle, keeping duplicates of items I rarely wore, and storing seasonal pieces that had gone out of style years ago. The process of evaluation became surprisingly therapeutic. As I held each garment, I could honestly assess whether it served me now in this phase of my life. Some pieces I'd been saving for a someday that might never come. Others had been gifts that I'd kept out of obligation rather than love. Next came books. I realized I was storing volumes I'd never read and others I'd never read again, simply because I felt I should keep books. But keeping books I didn't truly value was preventing me from easily accessing and enjoying the ones I did treasure. Kitchen items proved to be another revelation. Specialty gadgets I'd bought with good intentions but used maybe once were taking up prime real estate in my drawers and cabinets. Duplicate tools, chipped dishes I never used, and expired spices filled valuable space. The transformation was immediate and profound. My home felt lighter, more spacious, and easier to navigate. But the most significant change was mental. I no longer felt weighed down by the responsibility of caring for so many unnecessary possessions. Before you move on to the next strategy, take a moment to comment below. What's one category of items you know you need to evaluate in your own home? I'd love to hear about your biggest clutter challenges, and sharing might inspire someone else who's facing the same struggle. Strategy 2. Assign a specific home for every object. Once you've curated your belongings to include only items that serve you, the next step is ensuring each one has a designated place. This principle, that everything should have a home, is fundamental to maintaining long-term organization without constant effort. Before implementing this strategy, I spent enormous amounts of time searching for misplaced items. Keys would disappear, important documents would get buried under piles of mail, and cooking utensils would migrate to random drawers throughout the kitchen. This constant searching created unnecessary stress and made simple tasks take much longer than they should have. The Japanese approach taught me to think strategically about placement. Instead of randomly assigning spots for things, I began to consider where each item was most frequently used and what would make the most logical sense for daily life. The process begins with observation. I spent a week noting which items I used most frequently and in which areas of my home. This revealed patterns I hadn't noticed before. For example, I realized I often needed scissors in 3 different areas: the kitchen for opening packages, my office for craft projects, and the bathroom for various grooming tasks. Instead of having one pair that I constantly moved around, I designated a pair for each location. For keys, I installed a small hook right beside the front door. Every time I walked in, the keys went directly onto that hook. No thinking required, no searching the next morning. For important documents, I created a filing system with clearly labeled folders, and I committed to filing papers immediately rather than creating piles to deal with later. In the kitchen, I organized utensils based on their function and frequency of use. The tools I used daily went in the drawer closest to the stove. Specialty items used less frequently were stored in less accessible but still logical locations. Each type of item had its own designated section. The magic happens when you commit to the system. Every time you use something, return it to its designated home immediately. This requires discipline at first, but it quickly becomes an automatic habit that requires no mental energy. I started small, focusing on just a few categories of frequently used items. As the habit strengthened, I expanded the system to encompass everything in my home. The result is that I now know exactly where to find anything I need, and more importantly, I know exactly where to put things away. This strategy also prevents the accumulation of clutter in inappropriate areas. When everything has a proper home, it becomes immediately obvious when something is out of place, making it easy to maintain order consistently. The transformation extends beyond just knowing where things are. It creates a sense of control and calm that permeates daily life. Morning routines become smoother, cooking becomes more efficient, and the mental load of managing household items decreases dramatically. Strategy 3. Organize by category, not by room. This strategy revolutionized my understanding of organization. Instead of tackling one room at a time, the Japanese method suggests organizing by type of item across your entire home. This approach provides a complete picture of what you own and prevents the fragmentation that leads to duplicate purchases and scattered storage. Before learning this principle, I would spend a Saturday organizing the bedroom, the following week tackling the kitchen, and then maybe addressing the living room. But this room-by-room approach meant I never saw the full scope of any category of belongings. I might organize clothes in the bedroom closet while forgetting about the jackets in the hall closet, the workout clothes in the laundry room, and the seasonal items stored in the basement. The category-based approach changed everything. When I decided to organize clothing, I gathered every single piece of clothing from every corner of my house. This comprehensive collection revealed patterns and redundancies I'd never noticed. I discovered I owned 7 black sweaters, most of which were slightly different but served the same function. I found clothes I'd forgotten I owned, and I realized how much money I'd wasted buying similar items repeatedly. Starting with clothing made sense because it's typically the largest category in most homes and the one that causes the most daily frustration. I pulled everything from bedroom closets, hall closets, laundry areas, and seasonal storage. Seeing it all together was both overwhelming and enlightening. This comprehensive view allowed me to make better decisions about what to keep. Instead of looking at one black sweater in isolation and thinking, this might be useful, I could see it in context with all my other black sweaters and make a more informed choice about which ones truly served me best. After clothing came books. I gathered every book from bookshelves throughout the house, from bedside tables, from storage boxes, and from forgotten corners. Again, seeing the complete collection helped me identify duplicates, books I'd never read and honestly never would, and volumes that no longer aligned with my current interests or needs. Next were kitchen items. This category included not just obvious things like pots and pans, but also small appliances, utensils, dishes, storage containers, and pantry items. Seeing everything together revealed how much I'd accumulated over the years and how many items served duplicate functions. The beauty of this approach is that it forces you to see patterns in your consumption habits. You begin to understand which types of items you tend to overbuy, which ones you use consistently, and which ones you convince yourself you need but never actually use. Documents and papers formed another major category. I gathered every piece of paper from throughout the house, from file cabinets, kitchen counters, bedroom dressers, and car glove compartments. This comprehensive collection allowed me to create a logical filing system and eliminate years of accumulated paperwork that no longer served any purpose. Each category became a learning experience. With decorative items, I realized I'd been keeping many pieces that no longer reflected my style or brought me joy. With electronic items and cables, I discovered a shocking number of chargers for devices I no longer owned and gadgets that had been replaced by newer technology. The process takes longer initially than room-by-room organization, but the results are far more lasting. When you organize by category, you create logical systems that make sense across your entire home. Similar items are grouped together, making them easier to find and maintain. You also develop a clear understanding of your actual needs versus your perceived needs. This approach also prevents the common problem of moving clutter from room to room without actually addressing it. When you're working with complete categories, there's nowhere to hide excess items. You must make definitive decisions about what to keep and what to release. Strategy 4. Maintain visual harmony and minimize visual clutter. The fourth strategy focuses on creating spaces that feel calm and balanced rather than visually overwhelming. In Japanese design philosophy, what you don't see is just as important as what you do see. This principle recognizes that cluttered surfaces and over-decorated spaces can create mental fatigue, even when everything is technically organized. Before understanding this concept, I believed that filling spaces made them feel more decorated and homey. Every surface had something on it: decorative objects, books, plants, picture frames, candles. While each individual item might have been lovely, the cumulative effect was overwhelming and chaotic. I didn't realize how much mental energy I was expending just processing all the visual information in my environment. Every time I entered a room, my brain had to catalog dozens of objects, creating a subtle but constant state of overstimulation. The Japanese approach taught me that empty space is not wasted space, it's restful space. Open surfaces allow the eye and mind to relax. They create a sense of calm that makes it easier to focus on what's truly important. I began by clearing all surfaces completely, then mindfully choosing only the most essential or beloved items to display. On my kitchen counters, I kept only the appliances I used daily. Everything else went into cabinets where it was still accessible but not constantly demanding visual attention. In the living room, I reduced decorative objects by about 80%, keeping only pieces that I truly loved and that contributed to the overall harmony of the space. Instead of multiple small decorations scattered across shelves and tables, I chose fewer, more impactful pieces that could be appreciated individually. This strategy extends beyond just reducing decorative items. It also means maintaining clear surfaces as part of daily routine. After cooking, I clear and wipe down all counters. After working at my desk, I put away papers and supplies. After relaxing in the living room, I return books and remote controls to their designated places. The immediate effect was remarkable. Rooms felt larger, brighter, and more peaceful. Cleaning became faster and easier because there were fewer objects to move and dust around. More importantly, I found I could relax more deeply in spaces that weren't visually demanding my attention. Another aspect of visual harmony involves being mindful of color coordination and material consistency. Instead of having storage containers in multiple colors and materials throughout my home, I chose a consistent style that created cohesion. This doesn't mean everything has to match perfectly, but there should be an overall sense of intentionality and harmony. Lighting also plays a crucial role in visual harmony. I replaced harsh overhead lighting with softer, warmer options where possible. I added lamps to create pools of gentle light that made spaces feel more inviting and calm. The psychological impact of this strategy cannot be overstated. When your environment feels visually peaceful, your mind can be more at ease. You're not constantly processing clutter or feeling subconsciously stressed by chaos in your peripheral vision. This approach also makes it much easier to maintain organization. When surfaces are meant to be clear, it's immediately obvious when something is out of place. There's no gradual accumulation of clutter because the baseline is emptiness, not fullness. I want to pause here and ask you to engage with this content. If you're finding these strategies helpful, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments which strategy resonates most with you so far. Your engagement helps me understand what content serves you best, and it helps YouTube show this video to others who might need these solutions. Strategy 5. Create a routine of consistent order. The fifth strategy recognizes that organization isn't a destination, it's a practice. Rather than waiting for chaos to accumulate and then spending hours fixing it, the Japanese approach emphasizes small, consistent actions that maintain order effortlessly. Before adopting this mindset, I lived in a cycle of neglect and crisis. I would let things slide until the mess became overwhelming, then spend entire weekends in intensive cleaning and organizing sessions. This approach was exhausting and unsustainable, and it meant I was constantly living in some stage of disorder. The Japanese philosophy taught me that prevention is infinitely easier than correction. Small actions performed consistently require far less energy than periodic massive overhauls, and they ensure that your home remains a source of peace rather than stress. I started with the 5-minute rule. Each morning, I spend 5 minutes tidying up from the previous evening, putting away items that migrated during the day, wiping down surfaces, and ensuring everything is in its designated place. Before bed, I do another 5-minute sweep, preparing the space for a calm morning. These brief sessions require minimal energy but prevent the accumulation of clutter and chaos. More importantly, they bookend each day with a sense of completion and fresh beginnings. Another powerful practice is the do-it-now principle. Instead of postponing small tasks, I handle them immediately when possible. If I use a dish, I wash it right away rather than adding it to a growing pile. If I change clothes, I either put them away immediately or place them directly in the hamper.
If mail arrives, I sort it immediately rather than creating a pile to deal with later. This doesn't mean becoming obsessive or rigid. It means recognizing that most organizing tasks take less time to do immediately than they take to worry about doing later. The mental energy spent remembering and planning to do small tasks often exceeds the energy required to simply do them in the moment. Laundry became a perfect example of this principle. Instead of waiting until I had enormous loads that would take an entire day to process, I began doing smaller loads more frequently. This meant laundry never became overwhelming, and I always had clean clothes available without the stress of marathon washing and folding sessions. I also established weekly mini sessions for different areas of maintenance. Monday might be a quick declutter of paperwork, Wednesday could involve tidying the pantry, and Friday might mean a brief organization check in closets. These sessions rarely take more than 10-15 minutes, but they prevent small issues from becoming big problems. The key insight is that maintenance is always easier than repair. Just as it's easier to exercise regularly than to get back in shape after months of inactivity, it's easier to maintain order than to restore it after it's been lost. This approach also created a sense of accomplishment and control in my daily life. Instead of feeling constantly behind on household tasks, I felt current and prepared. My home became a source of energy rather than a drain on it. Seasonal reviews became another important component. 4 times a year, I do slightly more comprehensive evaluations, checking if my organizational systems are still working, if I've accumulated items that need to be released, and if any adjustments need to be made to accommodate changes in my life or routines. The cumulative effect of these consistent practices is that major organizing projects have become unnecessary. My home maintains itself through these gentle, regular attentions. The time I once spent on weekend-long cleaning marathons is now available for activities I actually enjoy.
Strategy 6. Value empty space and let your home breathe. The 6th strategy might be the most counterintuitive for those of us raised in consumer culture, learning to appreciate and intentionally maintain empty space. In Japanese aesthetics, emptiness isn't a void to be filled. It's a valuable element that brings peace, clarity, and beauty to our living spaces. Before embracing this principle, I operated under the assumption that empty space meant I wasn't using my home efficiently. Bare walls felt unfinished, empty shelves seemed like wasted opportunities, and clear surfaces appeared sparse rather than serene. I constantly looked for ways to fill space with more storage, more decoration, more stuff. This mindset kept me trapped in a cycle of accumulation and overwhelm. Every empty spot became a target for more possessions, and my home gradually became dense with objects that competed for attention and required constant maintenance. The Japanese concept of the purposeful use of empty space, completely shifted my perspective. Empty space isn't an absence, it's a presence. It provides rest for the eyes, calm for the mind, and freedom for energy to flow naturally through a space. I began experimenting with emptiness in small ways. I cleared one bookshelf completely, leaving it bare except for a single beautiful object. Initially, it felt wrong, as if I was wasting the space. But after living with it for a few weeks, I realized how much more I appreciated both the remaining object and the shelf itself. The empty space actually made the displayed item more impactful, not less. In the living room, I removed about half of the furniture and decorations. The space immediately felt larger, more open, and easier to navigate. Cleaning became simpler because there were fewer objects to move and clean around. More importantly, the room felt more peaceful and less demanding of attention. This principle extended to storage areas as well. Instead of filling every drawer and closet to capacity, I began leaving breathing room. This made it easier to find things, easier to put things away, and easier to maintain organization over time. When storage areas aren't packed to capacity, items don't get crushed, wrinkled, or damaged, and you can actually see and access what you own. The kitchen transformation was particularly dramatic. I removed all non-essential items from countertops, leaving only the appliances I used daily. The clear surfaces made the space feel larger and more functional. Cooking became more enjoyable because I had room to work, and cleaning became much faster without obstacles to navigate around.
In closets, I stopped trying to maximize hanging space and instead left room between garments. This prevented wrinkling, made it easier to see what I owned, and created a more pleasant experience when selecting clothes. The visual calm of a spacious closet made getting dressed feel more luxurious and less stressful. Empty space also serves as a buffer against reaccumulation. When every surface and storage area is full, any new item creates overflow and chaos. But when you maintain breathing room, you can accommodate the natural ebb and flow of possessions without immediately creating disorder. This strategy required a fundamental shift in how I measured success in my home. Instead of asking, "How can I use this space?" I began asking, "How can this space serve me?" Sometimes the answer was storage or display, but often the answer was simply to remain empty and peaceful. The psychological benefits were unexpected and profound. Empty space created mental space. In rooms with breathing room, I found it easier to think clearly, relax deeply, and feel genuinely at peace. The constant low-level stimulation of visual clutter was replaced by a sense of calm that permeated daily life.
Strategy 7. Maintain a constant flow of release and renewal. The seventh and final strategy recognizes that organization is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing relationship with our possessions and space. The Japanese approach emphasizes creating systems that prevent reaccumulation and ensure that our homes continue to serve us rather than burden us over time. Before understanding this principle, I would have periodic decluttering sessions, often motivated by frustration with growing clutter, but I didn't have systems in place to prevent the same accumulation from happening again. Within months of a major organizing project, I'd find myself back where I started, surrounded by excess possessions that had somehow multiplied without my conscious awareness. The insight that changed everything was recognizing that organization isn't a destination, it's a practice that requires ongoing attention. Just as physical fitness requires consistent effort rather than occasional intense workouts, home organization requires regular maintenance rather than periodic overhauls. I established monthly release sessions where I choose one category of belongings and evaluate whether everything in that category still serves me. In January, I might review clothing. In February, books. In March, kitchen items. This systematic approach ensures that nothing gets overlooked for too long, and it prevents the overwhelming accumulation that makes organization feel impossible. These monthly sessions are brief, usually 30 minutes or less, but they're incredibly effective. Because I'm only dealing with one category and I'm doing it regularly, there's never an overwhelming amount to process. I can thoughtfully consider each item without feeling rushed or exhausted. I also adopted the one-in, one-out principle for most categories of possessions. When I buy a new piece of clothing, I release a piece I no longer wear with the same frequency. When I acquire a new book, I pass along one I've already read and won't read again. This practice prevents net accumulation while ensuring that what I keep continues to be actively useful or loved. This strategy extends to gifts and inherited items as well. I learned to graciously receive gifts while maintaining the freedom to release them if they don't serve my life. The gift was the thought and love behind it, not the obligation to keep the physical object forever if it doesn't enhance my daily experience. Seasonal transitions became natural opportunities for evaluation. When switching from summer to winter clothing, I would assess each item. Did I wear this last season? Does it still fit my body and my lifestyle? Does it bring me joy when I put it on? Items that failed these tests would be gratefully released to make room for pieces that better served me. Digital decluttering became part of this practice as well. Email subscriptions, photos, documents, and apps accumulate just like physical possessions. I established quarterly sessions for digital cleanup, unsubscribing from lists that no longer served me, deleting photos that weren't meaningful, and removing apps I no longer used. The key insight is that accumulation is a natural process. We live in a world designed to encourage consumption. The solution isn't to feel guilty about this reality, but to create conscious systems that help us maintain alignment between our possessions and our values.
Another aspect of this strategy involves being mindful about what enters the home in the first place. Before making purchases, I pause to consider whether the item will genuinely improve my life or if I'm buying it for other reasons: boredom, social pressure, emotional comfort, or simply habit. This doesn't mean never buying anything new or living with restrictions that feel punitive. It means developing the skill of conscious consumption, making intentional choices that support the life you want to live rather than accumulating items that ultimately become burdens. The practice of gratitude became central to this strategy. When releasing items, I would thank them for whatever service they had provided, even if that service was helping me learn what I don't need or want. This practice transformed decluttering from a chore into a ritual of appreciation and conscious choice.
The transformation. More than just organization. Implementing these 7 strategies created changes that extended far beyond having a tidy home. The Japanese approach to organization fundamentally altered my relationship with my physical environment, my possessions, and ultimately my daily experience of life. The most immediate change was the dramatic reduction in time spent managing household chaos. No more weekend-long cleaning marathons, no more frantic searching for misplaced items, no more feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of stuff requiring attention. My home began to maintain itself through gentle, consistent practices that felt effortless rather than burdensome. But the deeper transformation was psychological and emotional. Living in a space that felt intentional and peaceful created a foundation of calm that influenced every aspect of my day. Morning routines became smoother because everything had its place. Evening routines became more relaxing because there was no overwhelming mess to ignore or address. The mental energy I had been spending on managing clutter became available for more meaningful pursuits. Instead of spending Saturday afternoons organizing closets, I could read, spend time with loved ones, pursue hobbies, or simply rest without the nagging awareness of household chaos in the background. My relationship with consumption changed as well. I became much more selective about what I brought into my home, not from a place of restriction, but from a deep understanding of what truly enhanced my life versus what merely seemed appealing in the moment. Shopping became more intentional and less impulsive. The ripple effects extended to other areas of life. The skills I developed in creating systems, making conscious choices, and maintaining consistent practices proved valuable in work, relationships, and personal development. The discipline of organization became a foundation for discipline in other areas. Financial benefits emerged as well. I stopped buying duplicates of items I already owned but couldn't find. I stopped purchasing storage solutions for clutter I no longer kept. I became much more thoughtful about purchases, leading to less waste and more satisfaction with what I did choose to buy. Perhaps most significantly, my home became a true sanctuary, a place that consistently supported my well-being rather than draining my energy. Coming home became a genuinely restorative experience rather than a reminder of tasks undone and chaos unaddressed. Your journey begins now. These 7 strategies represent more than organizing techniques. They're invitations to create a different relationship with your physical environment and, ultimately, with your life. The Japanese approach recognizes that our external spaces profoundly influence our internal states, and that creating harmony in our homes creates possibilities for greater peace and fulfillment in every aspect of our lives. The transformation doesn't require perfection, it requires consistency. Start with whichever strategy resonates most strongly with you. Perhaps you're drawn to the clarity of eliminating what doesn't serve you, or maybe the idea of creating visual harmony speaks to your soul. There's no wrong place to begin. Remember that this is a practice, not a project. Each small action builds upon previous ones, creating momentum and transformation that compounds over time. Be patient with yourself as you develop new habits and ways of seeing your space. I'd love to hear about your experience with these strategies. Which one will you implement first? What challenges do you anticipate, and what changes are you most excited about? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights might inspire someone else who's just beginning this journey.
If this content has provided value for you, please share it with someone who might benefit from these principles. The Japanese approach to organization has the power to create profound shifts in how we experience our daily lives, and spreading these concepts helps create more peaceful, intentional communities. Don't forget to subscribe for more content about creating homes and lives that truly support your well-being. Hit that notification bell so you never miss strategies that could transform your daily experience. Your home has the potential to be your greatest ally in creating the life you want to live. These 7 Japanese strategies provide a roadmap for that transformation. The only thing left is to begin. The journey toward a more organized, peaceful, and intentional home starts with a single step. What will yours be?